Welcome back, fans of all things Disney. I am just back from the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend. I did not run the marathon this weekend, but I did run the half marathon, and I'm very proud to share, and I'll show you a close-up in just a second, that I did get my half marathon Donald Duck themed medal. To date, I had not had a Donald Duck themed medal, so this is a first for me. I'm looking forward to maybe getting another few of those over the next couple of years. The event itself was fantastic, but I thought that I would just go ahead and give you a quick recap of the entire weekend. So as I had shared in another video, you know that a friend of mine decided to run the half marathon with me, and then we decided to just turn it into a whole weekend celebration because it was my daughter's 15th birthday on Sunday as well. So we started off Friday after school. My friend and I met up with my daughter and her daughter, and then we journeyed on our way to Walt Disney World. We started off at Saratoga Springs Resort, which is where we chose to stay for our first night there. It was a Friday evening stay, and because I'm a Vacation Club member, also a Disney Vacation Club member, I was able to use my points to be able to secure the room. The Saratoga Springs Resort is a great place to stay. If you are a Vacation Club member and you haven't tried it, it's definitely one to try out. It's a bit widespread. It's our home resort, so we have been there a few different times, but usually we're able to get accommodations in some of the other Disney resorts. So we've really only had to stay at Saratoga a few times. One of the things I love most about Saratoga for Vacation Club purposes is it takes such a small amount of points in order to book a night in relation to, say, like a Grand Floridian or a Polynesian or something. Now, you get what you pay for, right? Like the Grand Floridian, the Polynesian, those are more premier hotels, and the amenities are certainly there, and the theming is maybe a little bit better. But the Saratoga is a wonderful resort. It's Saratoga Springs, and I'm from upstate New York, so it kind of brings back a little bit of nostalgia, and little Miss Masha wants to join in tonight. So it's a wonderful resort, and this stay, we were assigned to the Paddock building, which I had never stayed in the Paddock before, and it ended up being perfect for us because when you take just a couple of steps outside of the back of the Paddock area out of our building, we were literally about 20-30 steps away from the bridge that would take us from the Paddock across the lake and to the main hub, which is where the Run Disney bus was picking up. So it worked out beautifully for us for Saturday morning to be able to just leave our building, cross the bridge, go right over to the Disney transportation. So that was fantastic. Once we checked into our resort, we checked out a little bit of the view. We had a great third floor studio with a great view of the pool. I'll share a little bit in a second. But it was just a really nice, simple accommodation for what we needed it to be. So once we were checked in, we left there and we went over. My friend treated us all to a great dinner at Olivia's Cafe at Old Key West Resort, which is one of the places I really do like to stay is Old Key West. I had never eaten it at Olivia's though. We either chose different restaurants whenever we would stay there, or I don't even know how I never ate at Olivia's because it was really good food. So a couple of highlights of Olivia's Cafe. My friend had told me that they have amazing prime rib, and did they have amazing prime rib? I mean, it was really, really good. The Olivia's potatoes were kind of the side dish that came with it, and those were good. They were okay. They're kind of like a little bit of a scallop potato, not my favorite. I'm sure for some people they love it. It's something they look forward to every time. Maybe not something that I would get again as my side dish when I go for that prime rib, because I know I'll get that again. But next to the prime rib, my favorite part of the meal were the rolls. I'm a huge fan of, well, bread. I love all kinds of bread. But the King's Hawaiian rolls, and these had a little hint of pineapple and coconut kind of blended together. It was so subtle and very light tasting. The rolls were phenomenal. I just couldn't get enough of those. So between the prime rib and those amazing dinner rolls that they had, Olivia's Cafe is definitely a 2 thumbs up for me. So after our amazing dinner, we decided that we would go and get dessert at Disney Springs. And for anybody who has ever had, the same argument I'm about to share with you, will maybe get a kick out of this. But the whole way over to Disney Springs, we had quite the debate on how you pronounce the name of the chocolate shop that is there in Disney Springs. I have always said Giardelli. My friend has always said Giardelli. And we figured, you know what, we're just going to ask one of the cast members that's there and see what's the legitimate pronunciation of this amazing chocolate company who, I mean, their sundaes are just outstanding. And so we get in there, we get our sundaes, and we're sitting down, and as we're still debating it and who's going to go and ask and whatnot, right on the wall, right on the wall, I don't know if it's wallpaper or if it's like painted on there or whatever, but right on the wall is the pronunciation of their chocolate company, and it is Ghirardelli's. So now I have to retrain myself because Ghirardelli's sundaes are one of the things I have to get almost every trip that we are at Disney. I love a Ghirardelli sundae, especially just the original hot fudge sundae. So it's taking time. I'm still messing it up. I'm still mispronouncing it, but whatever. If you've ever had a similar argument about something regarding the chocolate shop or something else, please feel free to leave a comment so I don't feel quite so foolish about this argument with my friend. So after our hot fudge sundaes and taking in a little bit of the fantastic music that they were playing down at Disney Springs, we went back to the resort. It was way too late to be trying to get to bed to get rest for the half marathon. I don't think I actually made it to sleep until about 10:30 that night, which is ridiculous. I know that. I know it. And those of you that are athletes and runners, and you might be watching this, you're probably sitting there thinking to yourself, wait a minute, prime rib, hot fudge sundae, zero sleep the night before a half marathon. Yeah, so those are all some really big no-nos before you're to do a race. And I regretted all three of those decisions as we were doing the race in one respect. But in the other respect, for me, Run Disney is always about the experience and it will never be about the time. For me, Run Disney will never be about time. I don't try to beat my record. I don't try to beat anybody else. It's the experience 100% all the way through. And I don't mean from the start of the race to the end of the race. I mean the entire weekend. So while I was certainly feeling it and it was challenging to kind of overcome some of those bad choices that I had made during the half marathon, I don't know that I would change anything, to be honest. I don't know that I will do it again, but I don't think if I could go back that I would change anything because everything was just, it was such a great experience and a great night. So then comes Saturday morning, and that is race morning. And if you have never participated in a Run Disney race before, for a lot of people, those early morning wake-ups is shocking to your system, right? The races start at 5:30 a.m. typically, which means you have to be on, or they recommend that you are on your transportation, your Disney bus transportation, to the starting line by 3:30 a.m. Now, sometimes they mess around with that a little bit, but that's pretty typical. 5:30 start, got to be on your buses by 3:30. The reason for that is there are tens of thousands of people that are running these races, and they have to be able to move all of those thousands of people into their corrals near the starting line, make sure that everything is as it's supposed to be, with roads being closed down and spectators trying to get where they need to be. So it's a bit of a hot mess, and truthfully, I like to get at the very front of my corral. Whatever corral I happen to be in, I like to be at the front of the corral because Run Disney releases in mini waves. So I'm not sure exactly how many people they would release, but I want to say my corral, which was F, had something like 12 or 15,000 people in it. So they release maybe 3 or 4 mini waves or little chunks of that big corral so that you're not kind of all stampeding on top of each other, and it can be a smooth transition. It's something that they went to a couple of years ago. Seems to be working because they stuck with it. And what I like is if you are in the front of your corral and you are released in that first wave, you actually end up adding some buffer to the time that you are allowed to be on the course. You have to maintain a 16-minute per mile pace. That is what, you're supposed to maintain. That pace is based off of the very last people in the last corral to cross the start line, which they tend to be affectionately known as the balloon ladies. These wonderful, wonderful people who actually wear a balloon or two from their waistband so that you can see them coming. And they are like the visual reminder of, this is 16 minutes per mile for this race. And if you fall behind us, you could potentially get swept. So if I'm in the front of my corral, I have an immediate, 10, 15, sometimes 20-minute buffer for bathroom stops, for pictures, for just taking in some experiences that I might want to do. The lines for character pictures are insane on the course, so I typically don't stop for those. But I will within the theme parks. I'll stop and I'll take some photos, and of course you want to have a bathroom break or something like that. So, to try to get to that front of the corral, which we were first in line for our corral, we were like right towards the front, definitely in the first mini wave. Our time was pretty bad because we weren't really worried too much about it. We just wanted to enjoy the experience, and we went through it. Whenever we were feeling some pains, we slowed ourselves right down to a walk and just really enjoyed it and talked as we went throughout. Now, following the race, when we got our awesome medals, which we both loved very much, we chose to go over to Magic Kingdom to start celebrating my daughter's birthday. So the first part of the trip was all about the half marathon. The second part of the trip was all about my daughter and her 15th birthday. So we went to Magic Kingdom, did some wonderful rides that were just awesome. Space Mountain, all of the mountains. We did Space Mountain, Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, the 3 big mountains anyway. And we also had lunch at Be Our Guest, which if you haven't eaten at Be Our Guest, it is fantastic. I don't think I'll ever eat dinner there again because it's so expensive. But lunch is quick service. And while you have to have a reservation, for $15 a person to be able to sit in that grand ballroom and eat your meal and have it brought out to you, and just the ambiance of the place, it is well worth it. So that was a great experience, nice little way to congratulate us for our run, and then of course to kick off the birthday celebration there. Following that, my daughter has always wanted to stay at Bay Lake Tower, so we said goodbye to our friends and we traveled over to Bay Lake Tower to check in for our studio room, which she was very appreciative for. I only used points for a lake view room, but we ended up having a partial view of the theme park, which was great because at night we went and we got some sandwiches at Contempo Cafe, and then we sat out on our balcony and we watched fireworks as we ate our dinner, and my husband joined us. So it was just a really fantastic weekend. My daughter was able to wake up in Bay Lake Tower, the resort she's always wanted to stay at and was never able to. She woke up on her 15th birthday with Mickey waffles. I had gone over first thing in the morning and got her Mickey waffles, which is a mainstay for us. Mickey waffles, and she ate them right in bed along with some coffee and just had a nice leisurely morning. We headed out from Bay Lake Tower when it was time to check out, and we ended up over at the outlet. So I could, of course, do some personal shopping, and my daughter could check out Papaya, her favorite clothing store. And then we just made our way home for more birthday presents and birthday goodness, which included a nice dinner out with the grandparents and all of us. So all in all, it was a great weekend. I will absolutely participate in Marathon Weekend again. Right now, my friend and I are planning on taking this entire year to train to potentially run the Dopey. So that's the 5K, 10K, half marathon, and full marathon. I have no idea if I will actually get the training in to be able to complete that, but I have a little bit of time to see what would be possible before I register. But that's going to be a down the road Run Disney journey. My next Run Disney journey is going to be in February, in just about 6 weeks, when I'm running the Princess Weekend Fairy Tale Challenge 10K, followed by the half. So a lot of interesting stuff with Disney coming down the road.